What's up guys, Noor here and welcome to Book of Showtime Chapter 65. As always, if you have a topic you'd like for me to cover for Book of Showtime, be sure to leave it in the comment section down below, or anywhere you can reach me on social media or at the Book of Showtime Discord. Also guys, if you haven't, make sure to check out the Book of Showtime 2-year anniversary giveaway. Link is in the description down below. I'll be adding Amazon gift cards to the pool of prizes. If you are a gamer, you probably hate EA. Electronic Arts was first established in 1982 and is responsible for developing and publishing some of the most iconic franchises in gaming history. But while EA has given us great games that will forever live in our hearts, they have time and time again antagonized their base with their greed and their boneheaded decisions. But while EA has given us great games that will live forever in our hearts, they have time and time again antagonized their base with their greed and their boneheaded decisions. Today, myself and the Book of Showtime community are taking them to task, and I'm starting with one of the most ignorant decisions in recent history that really sticks in my craw: the releasing of Titanfall 2. It's hard enough to release a new game in the fourth quarter, as that's usually when a ton of games drop. It's harder when you're dropping a multiplayer game when a lot of other multiplayer games have already had a foothold in the world. But it's even harder when you're releasing a multiplayer FPS between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Seriously, what was EA thinking? Let's also note that EA publishes Battlefield, so on what planet do you drop two FPS games back to back? Now, Titanfall 2 was head and shoulders above Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, but who would have guessed that? Titanfall was still a relatively new IP, and when you only intend to spend so much on games, it's safer to go with the established franchises. Now, we can do a bit of revisionist history and say that if they released Titanfall 2 with more of a buffer between Battlefield 1 and Infinite Warfare, maybe we'd be playing Titanfall 3 instead of Apex Legends. Also, don't ask me to play Apex if you haven't beaten the Titanfall 2 campaign and reached level 15 in multiplayer. I'm still very salty about this whole situation. I'm not a fan of Battle Royale games, and it's a shame because I think a lot of the character designs in Apex Legends are fantastic. But it's a Battle Royale game, so I stay away from it. Now let's move on to one of the worst things that EA has ever done, and it's one of the worst things that's ever been done in the history of the entire world, and that is the handling of the Battlefront 2 loot boxes. Before my take, let's actually see what Amy Starlight had to say about this. I feel like it's an obvious one, but one of the worst was the whole loot box controversy. On top of just how generally crappy Battlefront 2's insane microtransactions and having to pay for every classic character were, they were investigated for the gambling nature of it all. Their defense on the matter was that they're not loot boxes but surprise mechanics, and that people like being surprised. I seem to remember them comparing it to Kinder Eggs too. I had a feeling somebody would call out EA for the loot boxes when I put this prompt up. I also didn't know what a Kinder Egg was, and upon review, my hungry behind could not eat one. I would chew right through that toy. Now, to EA's credit, these actually were surprise mechanics. We were all surprised they do something so asinine and think that no one would be upset. This actually shook the entire industry to the core, to the point where loot boxes are almost all but obsolete. Now, me personally, I never minded loot boxes in games. In fact, I don't think a lot of people did until EA just had to ruin it for everyone. For those that don't know, EA thought that locking characters and perks in loot boxes for a PvP game was fine. Imagine if you played Siege and you only got characters through alpha packs. Imagine if you played Call of Duty and you can only get sleight of hand or cold-blooded through a loot box. It just made no sense. This isn't like a FIFA or Madden Ultimate Team mode. No, this was Star Wars Deathmatch, and the fact that you had to hope you can maybe play as Darth Vader made absolutely zero sense. There are two games that I've sank over 1,000 hours into over the last decade, and they were Overwatch and Rainbow Six, and both of them, well, the original Overwatch, and both of them had loot box-esque mechanics. While you could buy loot boxes in Overwatch and you can buy alpha packs in Siege, you can also earn them for free, and they were cosmetic only. Overwatch gave you every hero for free day one, and Siege you could earn every operator for free through a bit of grinding, and the grinding isn't even that bad. EA got insanely greedy with Battlefront 2, which was a shame because controversy and predatory mechanics aside, Battlefront 2 was pretty good. The campaign was solid but predictable, and I enjoyed doing the heroes and villains mode with my friends. Star Wars games are historically fun, and EA just sucked the wind right out of Battlefront 2's sails, and it's also a bit telling that we actually haven't gotten a Battlefront game since. So by the time this video goes live, College Football 25 will be out, and I don't think I've ever seen people this excited for a sports game, well, ever, honestly. There hasn't been a college football game since July of 2013 when EA released NCAA Football 14. Because of licensing issues, there hasn't been a college football game since, but their games still remain popular through roster updates and fan-created mods. Well, those fans are in a frenzy as they'll finally be able to play a new, officially licensed college football game. Now, I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade except EA's, but I can't seem to find it extremely odd that EA will be releasing Madden 25 next month. That's 2 American football sims in back-to-back months. At least in the case of Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2, those might both be multiplayer FPS games, but they play and look extremely different. Madden and college football are going to be the same games at their core, and yes, there will be a lot of presentation differences and some gameplay changes to stand out from one another, but it's still a football game. Now, if this was EA dropping a Madden and then dropping NFL Blitz or NFL Street right after, okay, still a tad bit congested, but I'm okay with that. But 2 full retail priced football games, that's just asking for some type of repercussions. A lot of people will be skipping out on Madden this year, and when the sales are down, EA is going to look to take it out on some devs. I can just see it now. This is another subpar business move by EA, and it's also borderline predatory. I assumed there wasn't going to be a Madden 25 as one, we already had a Madden 25 in 2013 when the franchise itself turned 25 years old, which has there been anybody who saw Madden 25 and was thinking, okay, what happens when we actually get to 2024? Are they going to do Madden 25? Are they going to do something different? Who knows? And 2, I thought that with the release of college football, maybe we would get a year off from Madden. I think the best course of action would be to release the games in alternating years, with college football one year and Madden the next. We don't need 2 football games dropping every year. We don't even need 1 dropping every year, if we're being honest. I talked about sports sims having a ceiling back in chapter 11, way back in chapter 11, and you can only innovate so much year to year, so giving each franchise an extra year to polish gameplay would be tremendous to us as consumers. But alas, sports games don't need that big a base to profit. They generate millions off of ultimate team modes, with some players spending thousands of dollars year to year. I actually saw this one dude on Twitter drop like close to $500 on NBA 2K24 before it even came out. It's like, dude, at least load the game up and see if you're gonna like it first. My brother Nicholas says everything they have done to Battlefield, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, the predatory nature of Battlefront 2 at launch, and creating the environment in gaming where microtransactions are king, even though it's probably more Fortnite, but EA capitalized more and started overreaching faster. Now, I don't think Fortnite is too bad. I think the battle pass they have is the best in the business, and the cosmetics can be a little overpriced at times, yes, but they aren't as bad as a lot of other companies. Like Call of Duty, every skin is $20 flat. And you also never had to gamble on cosmetics. You could always get what you wanted, and there's a lot of good free skins you can earn as well too. So while there's a lot of things that Fortnite has done that I disagree with, I feel like the way they handle their cosmetics, obviously because it's a very child-friendly game, the way they handle microtransactions and all that stuff is pretty safe. As for Battlefield in particular, you know, it's strange the series has fallen from the heights it was at. It was going head to head with Call of Duty. Battlefield just lost its aura, and it also had a prime opportunity, as even during the down years for Call of Duty, first with Infinite Warfare and then with Vanguard, they just didn't put out anything special, and now it's like they're almost chasing Call of Duty and other games, trying to emulate those as opposed to making something true to itself. Battlefield 4 Remastered win. In the case of Mass Effect, and namely Andromeda, EA went through a stretch where they had to make money on the Frostbite engine, and this naturally meant crowbarring the engine into anything they could, and it showed really hard with Andromeda. You guys remember all of those stiff facial animations? The engine was not made with story games like this in mind. Vinny says when they stopped using... You know, that's a good one that I'm really sorry. I just blew somebody's listening to this with headsets and they're really mad right now. I apologize, but blame Vinny. Blame Vinny. She knew that was gonna happen. That's a good one though. I didn't think about that. EA Big is basically gone, and it makes no sense that they've only put out great games. Where's the SSX? Where are the street games? And I know this isn't EA Big, but where's NBA Jam? Where's NFL Blitz? Where are the fun games that EA used to put out? It just makes absolutely zero sense. We have no sports game spin-offs. The market is wide open for any of these games. So what if they won't gross $1 billion? They would still sell well and people would be happy. Honestly, you can just take my argument and apply it to pretty much all the studios they've shut down or repurposed. Like Visceral Games, for some reason, does not exist anymore, and it's, again, not like they made bad games. They had some misses, but that's how it is sometimes. Visceral, they did basically every modern 007 game. They did the Army 2 series and Dead Space. Also off topic, but it's weird that we haven't gotten a Bond game in a very long time. The last game was 007 Legends, which was terrible. But we used to have so many Bond games, and now it's like we're just kind of hanging out, waiting for something new. How about Pandemic Studios? They worked on the original Battlefront games, Destroy All Humans, and also gave us one of my favorite sandbox games, The Saboteur, which that desperately needs a remaster and maybe a sequel, please, wishful thinking. It's just sad to lament that a lot of game studios are getting shut down to maximize profits. It's gross. This is not just an EA thing, this is an industry thing. Finally, we end this chapter talking about the infamous ending of Mass Effect 3. Ending a trilogy is one of the hardest things to do, and it was a tall task for BioWare, as Mass Effect 2 is widely considered to be one of the greatest Western RPGs of all time. And I agree with that sentiment 100%. It is a fantastic game, side missions, everything. It wouldn't be as hard if EA didn't have a gun to their head and made them crunch the game to get it out on time. Crunch culture is one of the worst things you can enforce when making, well, anything, and when you're rushing to make a video game, something will go wrong. Mass Effect 3's ending is infamous for all the wrong reasons. It's not even like a Sopranos situation where it's very open to interpretation. No, it's an EA situation. BioWare attempted to remedy this situation with updates, but the damage was already done. Mass Effect 3 just came to a very unsatisfying conclusion for a lot of players. The game's climactic moment ending on a speech check as opposed to a massive boss battle of sorts just reeks of something they developed up to the last possible minute. What's unfortunate is that the reception to Mass Effect 3, everything before the ending, was very positive. I actually really enjoyed Mass Effect 3 when I first played it, but my first run was on the Wii U, where I only played the interactive comic as opposed to the last two games. Players who began their journey back in 2007 were hung out to dry, as the ending was not satisfying on any level. Even for me, I felt it was weird the way the game ended with talking to a child, especially when there are times where you talk to the Reapers themselves. I felt like that might have been a little bit more satisfying. I played the first two games as part of the Legendary Edition, but I just can't bring myself to finish Mass Effect 3 just knowing the ending is going to be what it is after everything I've been through. I now know what players felt in 2012. Maybe when it's time for Mass Effect 4 to come out, EA will learn their lesson and let this game be nurtured. Fat chance. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below what you think the worst things EA has done. And guys, by the way, I mentioned this in the Book of Showtime Discord. This is just the beginning. There are going to be plenty more chapters like this where I call out gaming companies for some of the nonsense they've done to consumers over the last few years. It's going to be the area of grievances stretch of Book of Showtime. Inshallah, I will see you in the 2-year anniversary special.